motor vlogging channel.
I guess it's worked out. I've got a winter project because it's actually being winter time now. It's been kind of a pain though. You can still sort of see over here, so the moving stuff, there's more boxes continuing and it's getting kind of hard to work on this thing. Took the kickstand off again because we put a foot on it. Dude, this paint turned out really well. I didn't even bring that little foot to my welding guy. I looked at it and was just like, yeah, this is stupid. And we just took it to him and he made this. Got this local guy around here, Z-Fab. Did work on my paramotor, did the aluminum stuff. He did this. He also did my stainless steel exhaust. I'll show in just a minute. Awesome dude. At one point the foot, we had it a little bit bigger than this. And I kept having him trim it down. And then now looking back, I should have left it the last size he had it, where he was like, I think this would be a good size. And I was like, no, make it this size. And this is definitely gonna sink in some dirt. The stock one was actually pretty small too, so I think I'll be all right with this. I cleaned it up a little bit more and gave it a couple coats of some Krylon with rust protector in it. So I tried to clean up any little specks of rust on it, but you know, I'm sure I didn't get perfect. That's why it's a steel kickstand. You literally kick it, you know? I'm that flexible still. Now I probably put like 6 or 7 pretty light coats and they actually look pretty good. Slap this back on and then we'll mess with the exhaust. This is where the kickstand pivots on. And you probably think I'm gonna throw a little bit of a little grease on here, but I'm actually not. This is a pretty loose connection in here. It's kind of meant to sit pretty loose on there. And if I put any grease on there, all it's gonna do is attract dirt to it since it's so low and then just make it with more friction and grinding. And this is one of those cases I'd say you're better off not putting anything on there. Let's see how much paint I got into the threads. Look what I got sitting out here. Just gonna make the internet crazy. See what I'm saying? How this is kind of a loose connection in here. So grease in there, if anything, could just be one of those cases where it ends up making more problems than it's worse. Worse than it's worth. I know the words. Kickstands, freezer. Brutal. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but I shoved some dimes and pennies in there. I have put gloves on and safety glasses now because I don't know how much I trust this idea. Oh, go to the most stretched part here. Probably should do this with pliers, but whatever. Gloves are the same thing, right? Well, we had a like stock headers with an FMF sort of midway back exhaust system. But that's not cool because that's not fake carbon fiber. Especially they don't actually make one for this bike. They did at one point, they don't anymore, but there is a way. Old beat up FMF can, what you can do is just you say, hey Danny up at TwoBros, I would like a Jake TwoBros exhaust for my bike. And this is the outer diameter of my can. They'll actually just send you a slip over system and you can have you an old Jake TheGardenSnake exhaust. So y'all have been following me for a while. I may remember at one point TwoBros actually sent me like a spare carbon can because they wanted me to test a different type of carbon. I know it was a joke, fake carbon, but they really wanted me to see how this held up. They knew the FZ07 had like it's got a good thump. It's got a hard sort of exhaust hit. So they said, let's see how it survives on that, especially the way you ride like an idiot. So this thing bottomed out and hit the ground and been covered in sand and mud more than it really should, especially being carbon fiber. But oddly enough, this one they sent me was the exact size to slip in there. When I took the kickstand to Z-Fab, I also took them this. We had to repair this small piece on here. If you remember, this threaded piece on here was broken. TwoBros just sent me some more of these little spring tabs. And this has been modified to take the TwoBros can. I did take the badge off because the badge was like down here. I've got a new badge. I've got to figure out where it's gonna line up on the bike first. This can's a little shorter than the FMF, and I like that because the FMF is like a mile long. It's way lighter, guys. I didn't want to run the stock headers with my fancy TwoBros exhaust, so I did pick up some aftermarket ones. I got these on Amazon. They're like fairly cheap. I'm probably gonna replace these down the road at some point because I don't know. I mean, they're better than stock. I had these for a couple months here in the garage. I actually went with the Dremel on the inside, kind of where you get to these welds. Cleaned them all up pretty good. Done some work sort of smoothing them all out, but probably wouldn't recommend these to anyone. Anytime I mess with the headers on bikes, I always just get new gaskets. You son of a monkey. I knew these were too big. And we're back, all right. Get lucky, this will just stay. Good chance these want to fall out. Easy thing to do is just take a little bit of grease on your dinghy here, stick it up in there, and it's almost like temporary glue. The first time you fire up your engine, it'll just burn right off. You don't want to crank anything down at all. I'm going to introduce a little bit of high temp RVT. The entire exhaust was like, especially the headers were like a name brand one. I probably wouldn't bother with this unless it's specified to do it. This is kind of like not a great brand, and then the other two pieces are not, they're all from different manufacturers, so a little of this won't hurt anything. You don't have to do a crazy amount. You want to be able to take it back apart later, so don't glue the whole thing together. And normally when it comes to things like RVT, I always tell people, like, you know, just be really careful not to put a whole bunch, because if you're like putting it around, let's say a cover, like a cover right here or something, and you go to put it on and you see it squish out, that means it also squished in. And if that's something that's, you know, going on the motor, well, that's a really bad deal. In the case of an open exhaust system like this, you know, like open baffled exhaust that we're running, a little bit squished out and went on the inside of the exhaust, the first few times you run the bike, it's just gonna blow it right out. I guess I'm just trying to find a fancy way to saying not too much, but not too little. This is incredibly easy without radiators on. This clamp right now, I'm not gonna even tighten it a little bit. Just leave that alone right now. So one of the things we have to pay attention to with a Supermoto and exhaust is the tire going to rub the exhaust when you do like a big jump off of something and break your knees? There's already a little bit of a spacer in here, and it's not too bad, but it definitely will rub. I think I'll have a bigger spacer and maybe a longer bolt I can use. This is a built Supermoto problem that you're just gonna run into when you're making your own Supermoto. I found this a little bit longer spacer and a bolt and a washer that should work. Jake, how do I get numerous bolts and spacers? I acquired most of these from just being a mechanic over the years. Different jobs where people don't want their old hardware. Now I'm just kind of looking at the overall exhaust. Everything's still loose, but just seeing how everything sort of lines up. I mean, like both these headers, because they can sort of spin a little bit, you can kind of get them to go up or down a little bit, see? And if you have them way up like this, one, they stick out further and it pulls the exhaust in, so obviously we don't want that. Both of those are bad, so we kind of push them down a little. It brings this in, pulls that over, and brings the exhaust out a little bit. Starting back up by the headers, I'm not gonna crank these down, but I'm going to start snugging them down. And I'll kind of do that through the whole thing, check the alignment again, and then again I'll go through the whole thing and tighten it all up. One good thing I will say about our cheapo exhaust is it does let you put the stock heat shield back on. And of course we sent it to We-Coat It, and they made it look real nice. I don't understand why all the aftermarket exhausts don't have either their own heat shield or let you retain the stock heat shield. Maybe I'm not gonna wear motocross boots every time I ride this thing. Looks pretty good there. I still haven't put my Jake TwoBros badge on here. I'll wait till I get like the fairing up on here to put it on, because I don't know exactly how it's all gonna line up. When you get it exhaust to this point, normally from here you would start it up, make sure it wasn't leaking, and you guys can all hear what it sounds like, but still don't have a stator or even the wiring harness. I mean, I have a wiring harness over there in a box. Although really you should give this silicone 24 hours to dry. Although I will say I've definitely put the stuff on and like 2-3 hours later rode the bike and it's okay. It's 50 degrees outside, you really want ice cream. Let's go ahead and just throw some other things on. How about some pegs? I bought some pegs for this thing because these pegs are all bent up. They're a little bit wider. Some cheapo brand off Amazon. Whatever coating they put on here is just a little bit too thick. Metal's probably right, it's just this cheesy, like, wannabe powder coating they put on this. If you're wondering if that's gonna make them rust faster, so don't worry, these are definitely aluminum. I like that. Let's go ahead and put that clutch lever on now. RSC, that stands for Righteous Stunt Clutch, doesn't actually make clutches. They make clutch levers and perches. They said they would be happy to send me out a clutch perch lever for this project. I've used their clutches in the past. Levers, pretty bad. There's these like bearings inside of it where it moves, as well as there's like these positions you can set the cable on to make it an easy pull. So when you add a bearing and an easy pull system, it's really cool. Now I haven't actually looked at what color this thing is yet. I got my hand, I think, on it. I told them the color of the bike, and I said, dude, just surprise me. I don't care what color lever it is. I just told them what length I wanted. I'm touching, I'm closing my eyes. Oh, that's gonna look good, dude. Oh, nice. Flat black on gold. Somewhere around here-ish. I still don't have the dual sport kit in yet, which is gonna have some controls that are gonna sit around here, but we can kind of adjust that once we actually get that stuff in place. If you remember though, the stock clutch lever has a little mini lever that sits above it, and what that was the manual decompression valve. It pulls up on this and lets you turn the engine over past top dead center. So if you're trying to buy like an aftermarket clutch lever and perch, or put like a badass RC on there, you do run into a little bit of a problem because there's not a lot of people making aftermarket clutch lever manual decompression valve setups. But what you can find a number of is systems that let you run a hot start. What that is something that normally hooks to a carburetor, letting you start the engine when it's hot. Take your back cap off of here and you replace it with this little cap that has this little lever. That actually pulls a little cable. I think it'll work. These tools are pretty cool. You just kind of clamp the cable in here. And you will insert the lube and wrap this thing in a rag. Still free playing it in every direction. For right now, I'm not gonna bother with the clutch cable because this triple is actually gonna be replaced here really soon. In fact, I think today the new triple was sent out. Right now though, I do see a slight light clearance issue between the clutch cable and our handguard mount right now, which is pretty normal. Those are always kind of fighting for the same space. I think these are actually gonna move a little bit when I get the new upper right here. Hopefully that stator will show up here any day and we can listen to this thing go boom, 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 boom. Exhaust looks good though. Bike looks good. If you want to help support this project, check out the Big Red Pig merch. You know, we got hoodies and shirts. There's even little stickers. If you don't want to buy a whole thing, buy a sticker, man. Or check out some of my other stuff if you don't want that sort of brand specific thing. Or don't do anything at all. Just, you know, give the video a like. That's always good too. Helps out, gets into the algorithm, you know, all that stuff. All right.